Good afternoon. It's that time. Good morning. It's that time. Good night. If you're in somewhere out of the country of the United States of America, this is the Chicken Box. Wow. Black people versus dogs. It's been a topic that we've been trying to get in for over a year, but it is finally here, y'all. You're like, what in the world? I'm Kevin Peck, your host, also known as Impeccable, representing the Gen X's. Hope everybody's having a fantastic day. Grab your lunch or your breakfast or your dinner and jump on the box with us. I also have my co-host, Dr. Draper. How are you?
I am well, impeccable. How are you? Good to see you this week. We missed you last week, but we had a fantastic conversation. So I saw a post that just said something about colorism. For those who are watching, that was last week. But today we have another whole topic, and I'm representing the boomers. Good afternoon, everybody. Good to see you.
Wow, it feels like I've been gone forever. You guys have been holding down the fort. Thank you, everybody who's tuning in. Misha Green, my millennial friend. What's happening?
Hello, everybody. I am super happy to be tuning in or with us again, representing the uh, millennial boomers. I'm really excited about this conversation. Thanks to all those who are already tuning in. Last week was a really good conversation about colorism. I think this is a version of prejudice, though, that we're going to be talking about today, and even further. I don't want to ruin what we're talking about, but I think that there's colorism within this sector as well. So when we get to it, I'll talk about that as well.
We're going to get to it. If this is your first time tuning into the Chicken Box and you're not from Baltimore, if you're from Baltimore, you know there's 4 wings and fries in the box. It gets greasy. You know, you got some fries, salt, pepper, ketchup. You got things going on, and you might even get a half and half with it. But if you're not from Baltimore and you want to know what this show is about speaking our truth, dispelling stereotypes, getting to the nitty gritty about how Black people feel about different issues that affect us differently because we all aren't the same. We all don't look at everything the same. But today is Black people versus dog. If you're a dog lover, put a 1 in the chat. If you're tuning in with us today, if you're not a dog lover, put a 2 in the chat. We already gonna know. We can separate. Q is tuning in. Octavia, how you doing today? Dogs, man. I'm gonna tell you. Anyway, I'll get a chance to get on the box to speak my truth later. But we wanted to get a special guest on, and I won't call it special because she's my daughter. All right, and every now and then she's been wanting a dog since she could say dog, I think. And I was saying, nope, you will get a dog when you live on your own. That was my stance, and I was sticking with it. But anyway, everybody, welcome Taylor Peck, my firstborn queen, princess. She's soon to be a queen. She's on her way to be married to the Chicken Box, and we will get to talk about all of the dog loving things that we've been experiencing all of our life. Taylor, how are you, Taylor?
I'm great. Happy to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
Absolutely. It's always a pleasure. I'm gonna give you a virtual hug. If you haven't seen your kids in a while, sometimes you just got to give them a virtual hug, bring it in. You know what I mean? She's got a grandmommy up there, and now she got we got 2 millennials on these dogs, y'all. We're gonna need some help about Black people versus dogs. You know, while some say dogs a man's best friend, you've heard that before. Black people are stereotypical and they're anti-dogs. Some of them. Many joke and are afraid of dogs. And, people like, I used to come to people's house. I'm like, you better put that dog up. You know what I mean? Because you don't know. You don't care if they're little, if they're big. They all have teeth. So you're like, am I going to get bit here? But before we get it, Taylor, why don't you tell a little bit about who you are and then what type of person you're. We already know. I gave the secret away. We know you love dogs since a little girl, but tell us just about just a half a minute about what you're doing, and then we'll get into the dog.
Sure. So yeah, I live in Atlanta. I'm engaged, and I have a dog, and that's my whole story. But he's a part of my family now. So, and my daily routine, I can't take a day off with him unless I put him up. So That's what I'm up to.
Sounds like a child, people. You know what I mean? Sounds like if you want another job, right? And you just get a dog. That's what I always said. But let me bounce past it before we get into the nitty gritty. If you again, I'm gonna say if you tuning in and you love dogs, we say Octavia loves dogs. Africa, of course, dogs. Laura, I don't know, Laura, you have a dog, put it in there. Greg, like some of the other people, is like, I don't like dogs, cats, but he does like people. That's good, Greg. That's good that you like those. But don't be a chicken. Let's just get on the box. Let's get on the box for 30 seconds, really quick. Start with you, Dr. Draper. And are you a dog lover?
Yeah, I like other people's dogs. So, Taylor, your dog is wonderful. Micha, you have 2 dogs that are great. My daughter and her children and husband, they have a little dog. And little dogs are no different than the big dogs. And when I go to their house, this little dog will lay on her back. Mocha is her name, and she will not move until you rub her stomach. So I like dogs when I can leave them and say, oh, or I can see them in the park and say, oh, they're so cute, or they're so nice. So yeah, I like them from a distance.
Boom. I know. Misha, come on off mute. Come on in.
Oh no, I was just doing the.
Oh, okay. I thought you were excited to get on the box and speak your truth about the box.
I will hop on. I thought I can go.
Go. We're just gonna just jump up on the box and speak your truth about the dog.
Well, it is no secret how I feel. Let me take off my glasses so that y'all know.
Okay, she getting serious, y'all. When a woman takes her glasses off and wraps her hair up, that means it's something serious is going on.
Yeah, y'all know I absolutely love dogs. I have 2 dogs, Raina and Onyx. Onyx is in my office with me right now. That's what he loves to do. Gets a little hot up here for Raina, so she lives her day moving around. But yeah, I'm a big time dog person. I think that dogs have their own personalities and can be there for you as a support system in a way that certain other animals just cannot. I'm also at this point I learned that I'm actually allergic to dogs, but I go ahead and take that Claritin every day in order to have my dog love. And I'll talk about, I guess, a little bit later in terms of like my own personal history with it. But like Taylor, I am the daughter of a Kappa man who initially was not about having dogs in the house. The dogs dogs was another problem, another responsibility. And my father did not want that responsibility. But I will say how I ended up growing up with a dog in the house was actually when I was 13, I believe. We lived in a house in the country in Upper Marlboro, Maryland, and 2 dogs ended up under my dad's car. And one of the dogs ended up escaping, but the other ran into the garage and from the garage into the house. And my dad was so angry. So he took it to an animal shelter. But then I guess something tugged on his heart during that ride. And next thing you know, about 2 weeks later, we had Ginger, who is on the flyer. Ginger is no longer with us. She is, as they say, has crossed Rainbow Bridge, is what they call when dogs go to heaven. But I ended up having a family dog because Ginger made her way into our life, and now I have 2 dogs of my own.
Wow, you were on the box, the Rainbow Bridge. Has anybody ever heard of that? If you do, put that in the chat. People tuning in: Anna, Greg, Jessica. We don't play about our fur babies. Lana, my dog, is 16-year-old and a Cocker Spaniel. Man, the dog, and if you're from Baltimore, Doug. You know, I mean, they always say we say Doug. You know, you could tell you from Baltimore if you say Doug. But listen, this is Black people versus dogs. Dogs, okay? And we are breaking down the stereotypes on the Chicken Box. If we popped up on your screen on the Afro-American thread, do us a favor and share. Share. Somebody might just want to know how much they love their dog or how much they love not having a dog. So Taylor Peck, you on the box. Give me 30 seconds to a minute about how you feel about the dog.
Okay, well, you know that I've wanted a dog forever, ever, ever. So I've been asking for a dog since I was 5. And it didn't make sense because when I was younger, because you had a dog growing up and my mom also had a dog, but it didn't really go the best way. Like y'all had all the bad experiences to share. And I remember being like, well, they're a lot of work. You got to take them out. You got to pick up their poop. You got to do this. Like they were not telling me anything positive about the dogs, but I would see the commercials, you know, I would see the people who look so happy with their dogs. So I was like, all right, you know, you were like, one day you can have one when you get older, when you have your own place, you can have your own dog. And I was like, bet, I'm gonna have my own place and I'm gonna have my own dog. I'm gonna get a big one. And so then when I got older, I got my own place, and I would like look at dogs every now and then online, and be like, oh, I don't know, you know, how do you even buy a dog? I could adopt one. I could go to the shelter, and I would go look at the shelter dogs, and I was like, I don't know. I would see some that were cute, but like they weren't really pulling my heart. And then one time, it's a sketchy kind of because I got my dog off Craigslist, so people would probably be like, what? But I got lucky because the breeders, it was just their first litter. So they didn't really know, you know, where to post the dog. And his litter was born on my birthday. So that already felt like I was supposed to have him. So I texted my now fiance and I was like, I found a dog. And I was like at work and not doing work, but looking for dogs, obviously. So
At work.
I found him on Thursday and he came home. We got him on Saturday. He was in Alabama. So we drove to Alabama and picked him up in a Walmart parking lot. It all worked out. They were really sweet people, but I love my dog. His name is Chai. He's a year and 7 months, and he's a Labradoodle. And he's their family dog. He goes with us sometimes to my dad's house, and he's always turned up and ready to play. You know, Dad, as soon as he comes in, he's like, we've left toys there, dog bowls there. And I've even seen you petting him. So I know you care about Chai too. Even though you're really tough.
Okay, I want to get on the box. I am that dad who said, this is what happened to me. I got my dog. I wanted a dog. I was little, and my first dog died. I think I named him Peter. I don't know where that name from a brother in the hood came from, but Peter was the dog's name, and he died in 2 weeks. And I realized during those 2 weeks that I didn't really want a dog because it was becoming a lot of work. Of course, then a princess arrived in my house. My sister, she was around the age of 5 or so, and she wanted a dog, ladies and gentlemen. And her daddy, I guess, you know, my mother's here to verify this story, Dr. Draper. This is a family affair today. Said, yeah, all of a sudden the dog showed up. It was a German Shepherd. And before I ate my cereal every morning, I had to clean up that dog mess. And I lived in the basement. We have basements in Baltimore. You know, when you're big, you think you're doing it. You know, you're the big brother. You got the whole basement. Me and the dog were in the basement. And every morning, when he was a puppy, he was more of a hassle than it was. Once he could hold it and, you know, we could let him go out in the yard. But then you living in the city, in the row house, and you still got to go out in the backyard and clean the dog mess out the yard. So it became another job for me. And I said at that moment that I will never, ever get a dog again. And that was my story. And I was sticking to it. In my first relationship, which was Taylor's mother, she was allergic to dogs. At least that's what she said. I wrote that story all the way to the bank. Your mother's allergic to it. We can't have a dog in the house. Even when we left, I think I'm allergic to the dog because I saw Taylor's friend. I'm on the box. I'm going to get off in a minute. Named Taylor, who wanted a dog just as much as my Taylor. And Taylor didn't have her dog, Taylor? 2 weeks? And she was having a struggle dealing with her duty
help my case, but you're telling the truth
of taking care of her own dog, which meant that became my responsibility again. And I said, you know what? You see what's happening to your best friend Taylor with her dog? She couldn't take, y'all both wanted dogs, always talk about dog. She had the dog 2 weeks and she can't even get up and take care of the dog and take it for a walk and everything else. I said, Taylor, let me tell you something. If God is willing, you are going to live more years on your own than you are in your daddy's house. And so, therefore, when you get your own house, you can get your own dog, which is now, I have a grand dog, and I'm a granddaddy of a dog. And my concession is the dog can come over whenever Taylor can come over, but she cannot spend the night. I mean, Chai can't spend the night. Because that means I have another job. So I'm off the box. If you just tuned in, we talk about black people versus dogs. Do you have a dog? Do you love dogs? If you love dogs, put a 1 in the chat. Lenore's tuning in. Nisha's tuning in. Jessica's tuning in. Rhonda, she said she has a cat, but she still likes dogs. We're going to have to get into that whole conversation another day. We're black people versus dogs. This is the Afro-American newspaper. We've been informing, educating, and inspiring African Americans for over 128 years. If you've never heard about us, this Chicken Box is where we just come and we share about something current or about something that we have a difference in opinion of. And as you can see from the chat, some people like dogs, some people don't like them, and some people have learned to tolerate them. So I'm off the box. What other stereotypes are there out there, Micha, about black people and dogs? I know on those digital streets. I'm sorry.
Yes, well, I'm cracking up because the comments are helping me out. I didn't know that the allergy excuse was a big one in the black community. Nisha saying her mom used the excuse. Apparently Taylor had this one. Jessica said it works every time. I had no idea about this one. So we're going to add that to the list of maybe black people are allergic in higher numbers. Who knows? But that's going on one of the stereotypes. Okay. But again, I must emphasize these are general stereotypes found on the internet, not necessarily views of the Afro. So here, first one, black people don't like dogs. Black people are afraid of dogs. Black people only like aggressive dogs. Which black people have dogs? Old black people have small dogs. Black people equate dogs to police, coming from historic times to today. White people tend to care about dog lives more than black people. Some people believe dogs themselves can be racist. And let me tell y'all, that is like a #1 internet question. Are dogs racist? So we'll get into that. And then black dogs, which is where I said the colorism conversation comes in. Black dogs are also discriminated against, like black people. And I have 2 black dogs. So though it is a stereotype, I can say that there is some fact to that.
Wow. The black dog is getting discriminated. Ain't that a trip? Anyway, if you just tuned in, this is Black People versus Dogs. Put in the chat if you've heard some stereotypes out there. What was that last comment about? What kind of dog was it?
A Weimaraner. They're pretty. They're really pretty dogs.
Okay, if you're black and you never heard of Weimaraner, like myself, like I've never heard that word, I don't think, ever in my life.
They were bred.
That's the word of the day. Put a picture. Somebody send me a picture of the Weimaraner. Maybe I'll look for one. I can't even say it. Say it one more time, Taylor.
A Weimaraner.
Weimaraner.
I'm pulling it up now. I'll add it to the stream.
A Weimaraner. Anyway, we just tuned in, and it's a lot about dogs. Dr. Draper, can you tell us about the history of black people as it relates to dogs? Is there such history that's out there?
Yeah, there's history out there. And look, I have my own history with dogs, Kevin. I had dogs when I was younger too. One got killed unfortunately by a car. That was Brownie. And then my Cocker Spaniel, Jet. And so I don't know, not much success with dogs. But the popular culture connection between black folks and dogs is long, it's violent, and it's punctuated by all of those indelible images that we have seen for the last 50, 60 years of police dogs, usually German Shepherds, lunging with with their teeth bared or attacking bared rather, or attacking civil rights protesters. And so that image is in our minds historically. And according to thinkprogress.org, in the first half of 2013, Blacks and Latinos were the only ones bitten by police dogs. And that attitude easier to understand. Well, it's one thing to say we're the only ones bitten by police dogs. We're probably the only ones that somebody bet the dogs loose on, right? And so the University of Michigan, rather, did a story finding that dogs have been used historically to oppress Black people. And so that significance of dogs in the oppression of African Americans, it lies deep in the coils of slavery. And so in a slave memoir, Solomon Northup recalled a horrifying encounter that he had with dogs that were used by a group of slave holders. Even when we see these movies, these old movies now, the slave holders, they're usually standing back and the dogs are barking viciously, and they're using the dogs to hunt down people, to hunt runaways. And this is what Solomon Northup wrote, and I'm quoting him. He said, "I stood upon the fence until the dogs had reached the cotton press. Leaping down from my position, I ran towards the swamp. Fear gave me strength, and I exerted it to the utmost. Every few moments, I could hear the yelping of the dogs. They were gaining upon me. Every howl was nearer and nearer. Each moment, I expected they would spring upon my back, expected to feel their long teeth sinking into my flesh. There were so many of them. I knew they would tear me to pieces, that they would worry me at once. Oh, they would not just worry me, but attack me at once to death." And so Northrup's fears that he penned echo the historical relationship between Black people and dogs. And his memoir depicts the viciousness of the dog and the racism of its owner, going hand in hand. And so the sound of gnarls breaking through sharp teeth, matched only by the shout of the master. So they were inextricably linked, and the master's hatred ingrained in the paw prints. And so during slavery, African Americans who escaped from enslavement were hunted by what was called historically, listen to this, Kevin, Micha, and Taylor, and our viewers, called Negro dogs. They were trained and kept for the purpose. They were trained. They were actually taught how to hunt down enslaved people. And so a little bit more history, according to an article about the brutality of slavery, once the dogs caught the enslaved person, and they usually did, the air would be filled with this dreadful sound of yelping and people just screaming in terror, and the smell of blood and filth. And so, I mean, that's some kind of history of African Americans, enslaved African Americans, and dogs. And as I said at the beginning, this picture, every January, every February, and even throughout the year, we will see these images over and over again of the police with the German Shepherds used to hold, or terrorize Black people.
Good God Almighty! Listen, if you just tuned in, and we were talking about Black people versus dogs, when you got into that history, Dr. Draper, I thought it was the reading. It took your mood from even loving the dogs, and my dog, which wasn't my dog, which was my sister's dog, was a German Shepherd, is the dog. Like when you have a dog and a picture of the dog that you have comes on TV or in a photograph, you always say, "Oh," but those German Shepherds were trained. I guess dogs are trained to do certain things, and so it's not the dog breed, but that image from that particular moment in history and in time with the German Shepherds set it off to a whole different emotion that ran through my head as we came in. I saw my dad sneaking in the back. I was like, "Are you bringing the dog in there?" Anyway,
No, he's bringing. This is the plug. He was bringing me a copy of this week's Afro.
Oh, okay. Hot off the press.
Hot. Hot off the press.
I do want to show you guys the dog that we were referencing.
Weimaraner.
Weimaraner.
Beautiful lines.
That dog is naked. That dog looks naked, y'all. Anyway, that dog, what's that? I happened to turn the TV on. What's the thing where they do where they walk the dog and it's like a contest and the dog has to just try to search?
The dog show.
That's the dog show. So what's the whole thing? You want the dog to get the trotting along the side? What's the whole thing with that?
Well, there's different categories. So sometimes it's stance. It is gait. Right, they're what you call the trot. It's their gait. It's their grooming. It's how well trained they are. They're different categories, just like any other beauty competition. Dogs have to go through the different categories in order to place.
Okay, no football was on, so for some reason, for 10 minutes or more, I watched them. They kept giving them a treat. They gave them a treat, and they had them come down, and then they started walking and running, and the dog was going beside them, and they would stop and come back. I said, okay, people really do this. I didn't see any black people doing it, but I'm sure that they have some that are in the contest. Taylor, you look like you want to get in and say something.
I want to say something. I had two things. One thing I wanted to say about like the history. I still see, German Shepherds you see, of course, but also bloodhounds. Bloodhounds were used to hunt slaves and they still howl. So there's a bloodhound actually in my community, and somebody has one, and it's like I can't see that dog and not see those images. It's like I can't get it out. And when they do howl, it is like a howl like he talked about in that passage. It's a very loud, it's a loud howl, and they kind of can do it for anything. I don't know, but it's interesting. Maybe they are. I don't know. I'm not gonna say that, but I was gonna say when I'm walking by, they do howl, but I'm like, I'm not gonna make that generalization, but I hear it.
Secretly, you saying they may be still training dogs to?
Yeah, I'm still in Georgia.
Absolutely, you never forget that part. So where are we with all of these dogs, guys? Jessica's tuning in. We got someone, Rhonda from Boston. Octavia said she had a dog named Scooby Doo. That looked like Scooby. What kind of dog was Scooby Doo anyway?
I think.
Are you guys old enough to remember?
Scooby-Doo.
So Andre said Scooby-Doo was a Great Dane.
Yeah, that's it.
I just remember the song Scooby.
No, I just Googled it. He is absolutely correct. Scooby is a Great Dane.
Boom. Trivia for the day. If you didn't know what Scooby was, he hung out with a hippie, Shaggy. He was like, it's like Scoop, we're chilling, Scoop. You know what I mean? He was Shaggy was an interesting cartoon. I don't even know if that cartoon still exists. Probably on YouTube. It's still around. Black people versus dogs. Let's shift gears. Do people put dogs over people?
I will say that I've seen people talk to my dog before they talk to me.
Every single day. That happens to me. I mean, white people consistently talk to me before they talk to my dog. This morning, this guy tried to talk to Raina, the dog that's not in here, or else I'd show her off. And he did not have on his mask, a white man. And so I shifted my body to just be out of the way as I was walking them. And he goes, "Oh, such a sweet dog." And Raina, who really does go up to anybody, starts barking at him, and he goes, "Oh, well, maybe not." And I said, "It's because you don't have on your mask." I don't know if that's true or not, but people always approach my dogs. When I was in Chicago, I was actually horrified because people would go up to my dog and pet the dog, and I'm still like, my dog it can't be 6 feet away from me. So there's going to be some difficulties during this time.
Absolutely. I mean, people who aren't super dog lovers, and even if you are a dog lover, I don't know how many people just go up, put in the chat if you just will go up to any dog and just pet them, just and get all in their face, get eye to eye, even get licked. Oh, I got to talk about that. Do black people let their dogs lick them in the mouth?
I don't. I do not. But black people do. I've seen it. I've seen it done. I just do not.
How do y'all feel about that? What?
I just see what my dog, I see what goes in his mouth. I see what he licks, and I'm just like, oh no.
Is it true that you remember how they say the human mouth has more germ? Is that has more germs in it? What about the dog's mouth?
They say a dog tongue is cleaner because there's some sort of thing that allows it to clean or self cleanse. However, it is no type of letting my dog kiss me on the face, mouth, not at all. That is disgusting. And like Taylor said, I know what I see my dog try to put what in their mouth, and it's an absolute no for me.
Right. And then it comes to the question of, where do men and dogs, how does that get, men are like dogs. I mean, you know what I mean? But, if you look at your dog, he's laying down. I mean, it's things that dogs do, and you have to just all of a sudden say, he's a dog. He's near licking his butt. He's licking his private part. He's doing all kinds he's twisting and turning, biting that stuff, sniffing all over the floor. Everywhere he goes, his nose and mouth is in something. He will sniff poop of other dogs. It's like, I don't think those things are, I don't know how that men are like dogs. And I don't think that is where the stereotype comes. We didn't talk about that, but that might be a whole nother show by itself. We got people, Octavia saying no. Bonnie said it's grossed out for the dog licking the face. Jessica says that's nasty. Q says nope. Heidi, was that a yes or a no for the dog kiss in the mouth? I think maybe you said yes, but maybe it was yes to something else. Okay, and Bonnie said the dogs with the men. You lay down with the dogs. I guess everybody has heard this. You get up with what? You're on mute.
We get up with fleas. Fleas.
Absolutely. You lay down with the dogs. Anybody want to explain? You want to explain that, Dr. Draper? I think that's one of them old sayings.
Yeah, I think that's a saying I heard my grandmother say. My grandmother had a whole lot of sayings. I didn't know what she was talking about, right? But, she also said along with that, you're known by the company that you keep. And so it goes along with that saying. So you lay down with dogs, and dogs being a pejorative of, meaning that it's someone who has, bad habits or bites you or, treats you badly. If you get into their company and you spend time with them, don't be surprised if whatever they got on them gets on you. And so dogs, all dogs, don't have fleas when you treat the dog, have that taken care of. But yep, yeah, she was talking about men. That's right, Jessica Dorch. Yep, but that's what it is. Be careful who you lay down with, who you get into bed with, and then don't complain if you get up with the fleas or something else.
Boom! It used to be fleas. You can now get up with COVID. Hello, somebody.
Listen, they're telling people when they quarantine from your dog as well, not just from the human. If you think if you're quarantining because you've been exposed to COVID or you have COVID.
Absolutely. Taylor and Micha, where are these said dogs of yours? Are they running around? We're gonna want to see them before the show's over.
But laying right next to me, sleep. He's attached to me to the hip. I can't even. I have to close him out. He'll follow me in the bathroom if I let him.
But when the grand dog he comes over my house, he's everywhere else but attached.
I know. When we're outside the house, he's not. I don't really exist. He's like whatever at the dog park. As soon as we get there, he's off.
The dog park.
The dog park. That's a thing too.
Tell us about the dog park for those who are not super dog lovers. I guess all dog lovers, they know about the park already. But what happens at this said park for those who love dogs?
So the dog park is a park that is just for dogs and people. Some people don't come. People come without dogs too, just to be around dogs. But I wouldn't do that. I would not be there. But you take them there, and it's like a big open space. It's enclosed, and they're off the leash, and they just get to run around. There is dog park etiquette, so they say. When you're at a dog park, if you see your dog use the bathroom, you need to pick it up. Pick up after your dog. If you have a dog that is not particularly social, you should be mindful of the types of dog parks and how often you bring them there, because you know,
Mm-hmm.
you're still liable if something happens to another dog, and that is a whole nother situation. So you kind of let them in there at your own risk, if you will. But yeah, I mean, some cities have more dog parks than others. A lot of apartments are being built with areas for dogs to play. And like now, you know, in Atlanta, there's a place where you can take your dog and go get a drink and socialize while your dog is playing, and you can pay for it. So there's lots of options for people with dogs outside of if you don't have a backyard.
Wow. If you just
On the leash is the best part, is they don't have to be on the leash. They can be free.
Has anybody ever been bit at the dog park?
Yeah.
Because they don't have to be on the leash.
Right. Other dogs have been bit. There's been deaths that happen at dog parks, unfortunately. You just have to monitor it, especially if your dog is not fixed, not neutered. There's a risk there. And yeah, those are the main things that happen at the dog park. But mostly they get to run around and get tired and go home and sleep. That's the best part for me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Listen, let's get into something else. Thanks everybody who's tuning in. The dog lovers, are you still with me? Put a 1 if you love your dogs and you're still with us. 2 if you're like, I'm not fooling with the dog and I'm not going to the dog park or anything. You remember back in the day, as a matter of fact, the Michael Vick case. I'm going to bring this up. He got 23 months in federal prison for dog fighting. Do you believe that dogs matter more than Black lives? Let's throw that out there. Dr. Draper?
And for some people, I think dogs do matter more. I've seen people seem to pay more attention to the dog than they do to the person, and I don't want to be, put a stereotype out there about that. But even some of the television shows or movies that we might watch, I mean, the dog takes on a life of its own, right, and becomes the center of attraction. And Michael Vick, by the way, he wasn't there, but his property was used for the dog fighting, and he got 23 years. But there are people who
23 months.
23 months. I'm sorry, I'm not put 23 years on their brother, but 23 months. And so there are people who really, the dog is the center of their lives. I've seen people in airports, dogs in their, I'm not anti-dog, y'all. I like dogs. But I like talking to people better than I do talking to dogs. But I see people just spend so much time on dogs. Now, I know dogs have we didn't even talk about this. There's a therapeutic purpose for a lot of folk. And so like in nursing homes and places like that where people don't have a lot of human contact, dogs are brought in, So, yeah. So there, I think there's pros and cons to that. And I have seen people appear to care more about dogs, and some people in general care more about dog rights than they do rights of African Americans.
Absolutely. We've seen that. Micha, you want to chime in? A dog's lives more precious, it seems, than Black lives?
I mean, I think in many instances, I find that to be the case. Living in Washington, D.C., I particularly now encounter a lot of white people, like I said, who give, it seems to me, more respect to my dogs than me. Definitely more attention, which is fine. I don't need attention from them. But my point is that that there's a value to the dogs' lives. I remember last year when all of the COVID madness began, I have a white neighbor who was concerned because Onyx, who's right here, kept on escaping at the beginning of the pandemic. My neighbor's gate was open, and so would go through my neighbor's gate, and he would go through my neighbor's gate and escape. Long story short, she ended up crying to me at one point, telling me that she was so worried about my dog because he could get hit by a car. Now this is, this is probably like May-ish, so it was right or early June. This is right after George Floyd. So I immediately had to go off and say, "You're crying about my dog when Black people are dying right now," And it was something. my dog was fine. He was just being a dog. And that's what dogs do sometimes. After that situation, my neighbor closed the gate and they have not escaped since. But going to the Michael Vick thing, it was really interesting to watch that, because like Dr. Draper said, it was just on his property. They made an excuse for that Black man about dogs. Do I think that dog fighting is right? No. Do I think people should be punished for it? Absolutely. But I think the extent to which Michael Vick was punished, and it was the 23 months plus 3 years of probation for something that there's no proof he was actually involved in comparison to, for example, a George Zimmerman who is walking freely after killing Trayvon Martin, or Breonna Taylor's multiple murderers who are walking freely after killing that girl while she was asleep. So that is why I think that in some cases, dog lives have more value than Black lives, because we've seen it proven in the criminal justice system.
Absolutely. If you just tuned in, we've gone through all the emotions here with the dogs. The dogs they go through their family members. They're also in society, to some people, treated above African Americans and thought of their lives more important than human lives, which is a tragedy. For over 128 years, the Afro has been around, informing, educating, and telling stories, telling our stories that matter, that have always mattered, and that will continue to matter. We have an Afro fact every week. And Micha, we're going to get to the Afro fact, and then I'm going to get back to my happy place and the dogs. Because, you can get emotional when you in some of these histories, Dr. Draper, and then some of the stories, when you say how people really begin to put the dog over the human. And I don't care what race it is. The dog doesn't come over the human being. And as we've heard before, there are no dogs in heaven. Anyway, I just throw that out there for free.
Let me throw this out here. According to a study back in mid-2000s, it said that 2/3 of Americans own a dog, right, or animal, right, and 90% of people think that believe, and I'm not saying they're wrong, I'm just saying what the research says, that their dogs are a part of the family, and so they humanize the dogs. They humanize the dogs, and if it were possible for some people, if the dog could sit at the table, they'd put up a chair and have the dog sit at the table. The dogs have, and dogs are very sensitive, and so they make people feel good. They're non-judgmental. If you feed them and pet them and take care of them, there they are without, they don't talk back. They may bark a little bit. And so people have humanized dogs, and that leads sometimes to people valuing a dog over a person.
Absolutely. And I wanted you to say, I was on a plane one day, and I understand the comfort pets and how they travel and how they make people feel comfortable, and what the purpose is for them. But they may make some people feel uncomfortable. So I'm in the seat. The lady comes in next to me with her dog in the seat too. I was like, okay, here we go. So there's only so much foot room, right, under the seat in the airplane. I should save this for the box, but that dog was on my side. I'm tall. I'm 6'2". So I have to have my feet move back because I don't really want my feet on this person that I don't know's dog. And I'm not going to say it was a race thing, but she was a white lady who really decided that the dog's space was fine to infringe on my seat that I paid for. You see that line in the middle, guys? When it's a line in the middle, that's from that point to the aisle. That's my space I paid for, not me and the dog. So she got an attitude because I asked her to keep her dog on her side of the space, to the point there was another Caucasian lady who was sitting across from me. They connected telepathically, And she said, I will switch seats with you. And I said, praise the Lord. I asked God for an angel, and there she was. And I switched seats, and she moved over, and they had a ball, and she pet the dog. I think the dog was up on her lap eating snacks. And this was before you could have, you had to have that mask on the whole time, and it worked out. So I'm just saying, one person's comfort is not everybody's comfort. And you can't assume that you want the dog to be around you. So when people come over your house and they say, please put the dog up, and you like, the dog lives here, the dog don't really pay rent, but the dog may live there, and that may be the dog's home. But that doesn't mean that he has to be every time I stand up trying to sniff me, or jumping up on my leg, and those dog claws, if you got the wrong thing, it's going to scratch your clothes up. It's going to do something. Anyway, I just felt I needed to get that out. So, sorry guys for thinking. Let's get to the Afro fact. Anybody else had a dog around them that they really didn't want around? Put it in the chat. Laura's still hanging out. Rhonda's still hanging out. Jessica, Heidi, everybody else. Dana's still cute, still hanging out, man. We talk about black people versus dogs. What was happening in this time of history? We're gonna go off of dogs for a minute, I think. Or maybe we're not. In the Afro archives, Micha, around this time.
Well, thank you for asking. And we're definitely right in that the Afro fact does sort of bring down this fun dog conversation, but I think it's important in terms of talking about the value of Black lives and where we are even today. So this week's Afro fact is inspired by March 24th. And it's our March 24th, 1973 edition. And the headline read, Free Officer and Policeman's Son's Death. And sadly, this story is all too familiar even today. In this story, a 20-year veteran police officer, William H. Braxton, is outraged because the officer who killed his son was cleared of all his charges and back to duty. Braxton said he couldn't buy it that his son, the son of a police officer, mind you, was in a running gun battle with Southwestern District Officer James Lager. He said if his son was running, it was because he was afraid. Further, Braxton revealed that no word of sympathy had even been relayed from the police department, his employers, to him and his family after the death of his son. And that's this week's Afro fact.
Wow. You can jump back into history in the archives files, and you see the repeated behavior towards our people. It's nothing changed, but we have phones now, and we can get the information out faster. And we're starting to catch some of these folks by pulling our phones out and spreading the information, but the behavior appears to be continuing. That's a whole nother show. This is Black People versus Dogs. That was your Afro fact. Thank you, Micha. I'm having an emotional day today. I don't know how many of them. We're going up, we're going down. I see my daughter, Taylor Peck. She's hanging out with my grand doggy. I was looking, Taylor, for a video because I know I even took a video. She said she knows I like the dog because I petted. You have to go back to see earlier about why I wasn't having any dogs at my house. Not that I'm a dog hater. I just don't want to take another job. Okay. I might be some of you, kids think they can take care of the dog, but they don't. They don't walk them. They don't take them out unless you tell them. It's like telling them to take the trash out again. You got to take care of the dog, clean the dog up. Dogs, when they're young, they chewing on the furniture. I remember my dad had a big stick. I don't know. Maybe I'm not going to tell about this because this could be dog abuse. But I tell you, the dog got cracked a couple times for chewing up some expensive shoes. Ladies, if you got your shoes and that one shoe gets chewed up, it's like, the word was no, but behind the no was a smack from the stick. Anyway, was that on the record? Anyway.
Africa asked a good question, which was, what are some of our favorite dog movies? We had a similar conversation in a recent Afro meeting, but it was about horse movies. Is that correct? Well, I'll share mine because I was wrong in the Afro meeting. And I was saying, oh, well, you know, we had horse movies, Black Beauty. And then everyone told me that Black Beauty was an older movie and that the millennial version was, was a newer one. So I think this really is a true movie that came out in my time. And it was a book before. I love Marley and Me. I cry every time I watch it, but I think it's such a great movie about how a dog can be a member of the family. So that's my favorite. Anyone else share?
Anybody else? I think it's time for a new dog movie. With African Americans leading the way, the story. You know, you got those old yellers, you got Benji out there. I'm telling my age. Put it. If you guys remember any dog movies or shows, put it in there. Taylor, any in your generation?
I used to love my first, I think, dog movie that I loved was Lady and the Tramp. Yes, Q said it. Yeah, I used to love.
I remember when you were a baby, you used to watch it was a cartoon, Clifford.
Oh, I love Clifford too.
You remember Clifford, you guys? The big dog. The big red dog, right?
Red dog.
Right. You know, parents remember that because they know that you could sit down for a minute and leave us alone for a second where we can sit you right in front of Clifford here. Clifford's on, Taylor. Come on. Dr. Draper, we can't hear you. You on mute.
That's because I want to promote my Afro mug.
Oh, all right.
For the Afro Mall. But anyway, theafromall.com, you can get your own on mute mug. I'm telling my age, so Laura Bird, if you're still on, you can weigh in. We used to watch Lassie every Sunday, 7:00. There you go, Heidi. Lassie. And now this is really old. This is not a movie, it's a show. Rin Tin Tin. Y'all know nothing about no Rin Tin Tin. Look at Misha's face. Yep. Rin Tin Tin and Lassie. Those were the shows of the time. And somebody put up 101 Dalmatians. That was good. But Lady and the Tramp was good in all of its formats. You know, it came out more than once. You know,
right?
And then the dog in Annie.
Oh yeah, Sandy.
Yeah, Sandy.
I forgot. Also, no, everyone's talking, like Jessica just said that Clifford taught her about life. I don't know, Taylor, Jess, any other millennials tuning in. If you guys remember Blue's Clues.
Oh, Blue's
Clues. Oh yeah, Blue's Clues.
Blue was great.
Blue was great.
He was so smart.
Yes.
For all you filmmakers out there, I gave you an idea for free. If the Afro might have to do it, it's time for an African American story with a dog. You know, you've had Old Yeller. That, you know, that's a country. Anyway, that you gotta go back. You probably can't. You know, you can find everything now on the internet. But man, those are some real throwback dogs. So we're about to get to the final word. Let me see, Taylor, if I am able to show my granddoggy when he first arrived. Well, not arrived, but it was close to him being
Oh, I didn't know Blue was a girl.
What'd you say?
I was reading a comment. I didn't know Blue from Blue's Clues was a girl.
Yes, Blue is a girl.
I know.
What?
Blue is a girl. Nicole says a pet's life.
That's good.
Absolutely. Can you guys? Oh, wait a minute. Here we go. Let me see. Share your screen. There's Taylor's dog. You probably don't even remember this, Taylor. And that's her friend Asia, who was letting the dog this may be when the dog first came over. Yeah. We let him come over to the house, you know. For all you dog lovers, that's my grand doggy. He's now grown, but that's when he was a baby, running around the house. Anyway, there you go, Taylor. Did you have an awe moment?
Yeah, that happened by so fast, but I kind of missed that time.
Okay, so we're wrapping up, everybody. We're gonna go on the box for 30 seconds.
So Taylor, show us your dog now. Did we see him?
Let me see.
Is he asleep again?
He's always asleep. He works like a hard life, clearly. Okay.
Oh, wait a minute.
Okay. There he is. He's sleeping though.
Oh, he's knocked out. Okay.
He always sleeps.
He's really asleep.
Yeah, he sleeps like that all day. Like he has like a really tough job and hard life.
So, final thoughts on dogs, Taylor. Since you're a dog lover, you always have 1 and 1 to 5.
I think if you're home right now, this is the best time to get a dog. I support it. You can train them right now, and dogs are really benefited because of quarantine. We're home with him all the time. So if you want a dog, this is the best time to get one if you're working from home. And I support buying a pet. Of course, everybody knows all the work that goes into it, but they're a great companion. They'll be there through all your stuff. They won't judge you. They'll greet you happily when you get home. And then just get a dog. And if you want a cat, get a cat too. But I don't want a cat, but if you want one. But dogs are great.
Dr. Draper, final words, Black people versus dogs, or how you feeling about dogs?
Final words. I'm glad my grandchildren, Taylor, thank you for having a dog I can visit when I come to Atlanta. And thank your Aunt Andrea that when we go to Texas, we can visit Mocha, who is a very friendly dog. I think I said at the beginning of the show before we went live, that dog lays on her back and she won't budge until you rub her stomach. So dogs also are very affectionate. And so I'm so glad. I don't dislike dogs. I like them. I just like them when I can visit them. I love little children too, like little babies. Love them, but I like to give them back to their parents.
Boom.
So I've had my dog time. My husband is trying to convince me to get a dog, but he knows the rule. He gets the dog, he walks the dog, he cleans up after the dog, and he feeds the dog, and I just smile at the dog and pet the dog when it goes by.
Well, there you go. Seems like y'all might be getting a dog.
Yeah, he might be.
Y'all heard that he might be, right? They live together, but he may be getting a dog because that's what they'll say, right? And I'm on the box now, you guys. Once the dog is in the house, it is. If it's not our dog and we don't agree and click on it, it is your dog. Get your dog, feed your dog, walk your dog, and I am sick of your dog. Your dog needs a bath. I never wanted a dog. That was your idea. And now you want me. You think you're going out of town and you want me to take care of the dog. But you know what? If your money is right, there are people who will walk your dog. They will clean your dog. You can take them. I mean, they got some cool places for dogs. But for me and my house, we're going to serve the Lord. No, me and my house, we are going to just let our grand doggy come over. And maybe when we get some more property, the doggy can run around the yard. And we will enjoy our children's pets. And then we will let them go home. Now, grandkids, they can spend the night whenever they come. But the dog, I'm sorry, sweetheart. You have to draw boundaries and draw the line. Micha Green, we've been waiting to see your dog and your final words on today's Chicken BOXX. Thanks everybody who's hanging out. Jessica, Rhonda, Q, the dog lovers, Laura, Rachel. What's up? Rachel has a grandson now. She's not talking about no dogs. Let's see who else. Africa, Nicole, everybody who's been tuning in and just sharing on the Chicken BOXX where you get to speak your truth and we can have an awe moment. Micha, let's have our awe moment with your dogs. I've been wanting to see them. You're on mute. Show it a mug, Dr. Draper.
No, I wasn't ready yet. I'm adding the Jeez.
Y'all are ready to show it off. Okay, I gotta mute myself on one. Okay, here are my crazies.
Hold on.
That's Raina, and that's Onyx. Okay.
Wait.
I am gonna turn this off now to make sure that
You're really on mute.
Okay, can you guys hear me this time?
Absolutely. We tried to see it. We tried to see your dogs. Your dogs are super cute.
Yeah, they also were giving, though, very uninterested in being on Chicken BOXX, but yet they're so loud. Maybe I'll do the jump up. Here, that's Raina. She can sit like this.
How
There.
old is she?
Raina is 7, and Onyx, I don't know why he's now being shady in the background. But Onyx is 8, or is also, no, they are both 7. Onyx will be 8 in September, and Raina will be 8 next year. Now he's but yeah, I contend, guys, go ahead and adopt is the first way to go, I think. Or as Taylor was able to do, finding even one on Craigslist. There's a lot of people who have dogs that they can't care for, or have a new litter, and they want to get get it in a good home, but try to do it in a way where you are saving a dog's life. Okay, and there's Shy. Try to do it in a way where you're saving a dog's life. I also really encourage you all to remember to not humanize dogs. That was something that Dr. Draper said before, and at the end of the day, they are dogs. I love to dance with my dogs. I talk to them sometimes like they're humans, but at the end of the day, it really does a disservice to try to fully humanize them. And so do your research and figure out what dogs need and what they can eat, and not feeding them people food and things like that. And in the meantime, just remember that if you don't have a dog or are afraid of dogs, to try to open your heart to fur babies. You don't have to necessarily have one, but don't be that person that runs away from dogs and things like that as you're walking. And that's the other really quick piece of advice. Dogs can sense fear, and so when you do that like move where you're afraid as someone is walking their dog, the dog gets a sense of anxiety or whatever, picks that up, and then hopefully the dog is trained enough not to attack. But there can be some sort of level of response from the dog. So just remember, try not to be afraid. Do you keep your distance if you have a sense of fear, but also know that generally dogs are friendly and loving and just want attention.
Now, I live across the street from Q. I can't believe her dog will sing, because every time you walk by her house, if that dog is in the garage, that dog is going bananas. You know what I mean? Whether you running or not, he is at you. Like, if that leash ever pops, I swear. But anyway, I'm glad to know, Q, that your dog can sing. This has been the Chicken BOXX. I want to respect everybody's time. Thanks for hanging out with us. We got Taylor Peck, my oldest, and my first grand doggy in the family. We got Micha Green with her dog. She loved dogs so much. She said they had to have a friend. So that's 2 responsibilities. So she's double troubled, double the vet, double the food. I guess you can walk them together, but that is true fur baby love. And Dr. Draper, you have some grand doggies too. And thank you for hanging out with us and sharing your dog story, and for bringing the history of how we have been unfairly treated with dogs, and how the dogs' lives in some communities have been placed over ours. So for all the dog lovers out there, thanks for hanging out. For all the those who don't love dogs, thanks for hanging out. Until next week, we'll be here on Thursday at noon on the Chicken BOXX, where you get to speak your truth about what we have going on. Share this and go to afro.com and get a subscription. Get a subscription. We are not Fox News. Nobody can manipulate the story to African Americans. We are going to give you the unadulterated truth, whether you like it or not, for us and about us. And we've been doing it for 128 years, but only because you support us. So a subscription is $40 for a digital subscription. And if you want to ball out and get the digital and the physical newspaper for history's sake, and some people like to feel it, that's our legacy edition. It's only $100, less than 2 Uber Eats, or if I break it down in a day, $2 a day, $1.50, whatever it comes out to be. It's probably less than that. It's probably, I'm not doing the math, but it's less than $1 a day. You can have the Afro, and you can support an institution that has always supported the African American community. Till next week, thanks for hanging out. See you, doggies. See you, grand doggy and cousin doggies and all the rest of your doggies out there. Have a great day, everybody.